For this edition of Film and Show's Adaptation, we talk about Smallville Season 7, Smallville Season 8. Therefore, I think it's amazing. We got a supergirl comic that came out a bit before the 7th season of Smallville, and let's be honest with that. The big thing about Smallville Season 7 outside of Lex Luthor's big character arc is Supergirl. She is in it. So reading this was kind of enlightening to see how different Supergirl can be from whatever the CW delivered years later. Anyhow, I've read it. The Girl of Steel was very fun. I enjoyed it. And I could see where some of the inspiration for Season 7 came out from. And I am live talking about movies, or I should say TV shows, once again. This week we cover Smallville Season 7, Smallville Season 8. With that being said, I forgot a very important segment last week for Film and Show's Adaptation. That's why this time around, before the deep dive into Season 7 and 8, I will add the segment, the source of material segment from last week, because I obviously completely forgot. I do think Season 5 would deserve probably a 7 or a 8 out of 10 when it comes to how well it has adapted the source of material, because it really felt like a Superman show. And I've read a few comics with Brainiac, and he is different, but he works the same way, and he has a very similar origin, so he's very accurate. And I will say Aquaman, Cyborg, they are very based, and they feel like they are taken out directly from the comics. Now, when it comes to Season 6, well, Season 6, Lex Luthor is a villain. Really, he is no longer in that gray area he was still in with Season 5, where he was slowly turning evil, but he wasn't quite there yet. In Season 6, we get him lying to Lana about a fake pregnancy, which is a very evil thing to do. And we got him taking lives, even if that's by accident. He took his first life. Rewind. He took his first life in Season 6 by accident, but still, he took a life. And that's really a first time where it's not self-defense or to protect someone else. It was really to protect his lives. So Season 6, we really get to see the birth of the Lex Luthor that will eventually become the villain that will face off Superman. And the other great thing, Green Arrow is very accurate. And just like the CW years later, well, this Green Arrow in Smallville is actually far more accurate and better. I think the Arrow TV show nailed the character. It was a very good character, but let's be honest with the CW, it's not that accurate to the source of material. They took lots of freedom and liberty, and I will also admit that. The character arc of Stephen Amell, Green Arrow, in Arrow needed to last for 8 seasons, so he got a lot more material than just an arc lead. But here's the thing, it's still very different from the comics. My Green Arrow remains Stephen Amell, because I grew up with both, actually, but I got attached to Stephen Amell much faster than just an arc lead, to be honest. And again, I think Smallville did Green Arrow better. And I think the later season, being Season 8, that's incoming today, and Season 9, that's coming next week, Green Arrow really becomes a standout character, a very good character. And I am not surprised they made an entire show around a different Green Arrow that has similar things going for it. Anyway, I think Smallville season 6 is clearly an 8 or a 9 out of 10 when it came to being an adaptation. With that being said, today we talk about season 7. It's season 8. I think these two seasons are amazing. The later seasons of Smallville are great. Maybe I'm the minority. I know a lot of people did like season 9. I also liked it. But I think most people are like the first 4 seasons or the first 5 seasons are the best, and they kind of stop caring about later seasons. But I will say the later seasons are my favorite. They are standout seasons. So with that being said, let's screen share. That's the segment where we talk about the plot for season 7 of Smallville. And we also share the wiki page because there's a lot of very interesting intel. So let's get into it. Showrunner Alfred Cott, Miles Miller. These were the people since day one of the show. And that was the last season they were really involved. Because after that, they get replaced. And their idea was we will finish it at 7th season. Network still wanted to do more, and Tom Welling was also willing to do more. That's what happened. And I think that was for a good thing. Even if the show really went into a soft reboot with season 8, I think they did the right thing. Anyway, let's continue. Starring Tom Welling, Michael Rosenbaum, Kristen Krug, Allison Mack, Erica Durance, Aaron Ashmore, Laura Vandervoot, John Glover, and it had 20 episodes, and that was the second season under the CW banner. This season really added Supergirl as a semi-regular. I think she was missing from like 3 to 5 episodes, and that's a bit unfortunate, but hey, we got what we got. It also decided to have Jimmy Olsen as a regular this time around because in season 6 he was more of a recurring character, which is very interesting in this show. With early season, especially early season, what they would do is they would have a character that's a recurring character, and the next season he would become a regular. This is what they did with Lionel Luthor. This is what they did with Lois Lane. And now this is what they did with Jimmy Olsen, which is great. I think a missed opportunity was having Oliver Green Arrow around more. It was only in episode 11, but that's just what I feel about season 7. So the plot overall, there's so much to unpack, and that will really bleed into the review. But so basically, season 7 picks up right after 6. We got Clark that fights off Bizarro, and he thinks he defeats him, and then he get to see his cousin Supergirl that was in stasis for years. So in Supergirl mind, Clark was a baby, but no, Clark grew up, and now Clark is taking that more paternal approach to Supergirl and Kara, because Kara is still a teenager while Clark in the timeline right now is a young adult. I believe he is around 21, 22 years old. So they may have like 5 years gap, but here's the thing. He has been on Earth for roughly 20 years, while Supergirl has been on Earth for that much time, but she didn't interact with the people there. So she doesn't know how that world works, and that's why Clark takes that mentor approach with her, and it's very interesting. We also have Lex turning evil, and now we will really spoil the entire thing. That's your warning. So this is the descent of Lex Luthor into being a bad guy. This also in some ways the path of redemption to Lionel Luthor. But can he really be redeemed? Not really. He works very well with Clark, but he also had that hidden agenda we don't truly know the details about. And that's very ambiguous. Is Lionel truly trying to redeem himself? Or does he like to believe he wants to? In that season, we also get to see more of the romance between Jimmy Olsen and Chloe. And we also get to see Brainiac again after almost 2 seasons without Brainiac. And that season also had a very important episode where we got to see Green Arrow back. That season also served as the season where Lois learned about Oliver being the Green Arrow. That season was also trying to put the last nail on the Lana relationship, Lana and Clark. I say that, but she comes back in season 8 just to seal the deal. But that season was really telling. Lana changed because of Flex. Therefore, Clark can't love her anymore because she is too different. She is too dark. And Lana thinks Clark is too perfect for her. And Clark is also not so perfect. I mean, many years ago, he fled Smallville because he could not really man up and face consequences. Or I should say, he could not cope well with stress and that kind of stuff. Clark is not perfect. Lana and Clark both loved a version of each other that didn't really exist anymore. Clark was loving a Lana that wasn't damaged by Lex, while Lana thought Clark was so perfect. It is what it is. So that season, get to see Michael Rosenbaum, Lex Luthor, having his last season. At some point, he manipulates Kara, Supergirl, to try to understand more the secret around the Kents. That season had so much going on. So much going on. So, let's get into the review now. And again, I will spoil the entire thing. I think this season is quite good, but it's not perfect. And I will admit, this time around, I liked it more than the last viewing I had because I could see more things. But that also backfired in other ways. So let's get into season 7. My review right now, we will start with the usual thing. Worst 3 episode were episode 3 Fears that was unwatchable. And we had Sleeper being episode 17 that was also unwatchable. And we had episode 5, I believe that was Cure. I'm not quite sure. Let me look into it. I think it's Cure. That's my best guess. So episode 5 is actually Action. Cure is not that low. So Action. Oh yeah, I remember Action. So Action was an episode where Clark was turning into a superhero, and he really they were trying to make Angel Superman, and yeah, not a great episode. I had given that episode a 5.5 out of 10. Anyway, these were my worst 3 episodes. Let's get into my favorite 3 episode of season 7. In third place, we got episode 6 with a 10 out of 10. It's then followed by episode 11 with another 10 out of 10. And in first place, we got episode 10 with a 10 out of 10, Personas. So I will go into more detail with Personas, why it's my favorite. It's the one that stands out the most. Personas, we get to see why Clark and Lana are not meant together anymore. There's that disconnect in their relationship because Lana liked Bizarro more than Clark. How tragic. We also get Lex reaching that turning point. He is a full on villain when he decides to shoot his brother he could not control anymore. Tragic! Really? It's a turning point. At that point, Lex reached a point of no return. As much as a later episode hinted at the same thing being Descent, I just think Descent is another step in the wrong path. But really, the first true step in that wrong path was really ending Julian life. And there's always that shrine of hope, always that small light in the darkness that is Kid Alexander and all. There's always that. But here's the thing. It's only when Clark sees him. Lex wants to give up on that part of light inside of him. And it makes sense because he felt betrayed by pretty much everyone. So, Personas is a great episode. Oh, and by the way, I completely forgot. I can't believe it. Martian Manhunter was fire. I like the guy so much. And that's, outside of season 6, I think that's the season he got the most episode in. Got like 2 episodes in season 8. And yeah, Martian Manhunter is just great. But this was my top 3 episode. Personas is a standout episode. One of the best episodes in the entire season. Or I should say in the entire show. It's like a big character study on why Lex is a villain in Smallville. So now let's talk about my issues with the entire season. Pacing wasn't great. It was the shortest season, yet it dealt with the most storyline, and they still dared adding 2 filler episodes. Sleeper had an interesting premise idea, but outside of Chloe doing cyber crimes, that episode didn't push any of the main stories. You can simply skip it and still understand. You will just be like, what happened to her when she gets arrested later on, but you could introduce that explanation with the cyber stuff in another episode that's more important. But yeah, they only added that one bit so Lex can blackmail Jimmy. The other episode was fierce. It felt like a bad attempt to replicate what was going on in the first 4 seasons. This episode was simply filler and unwatchable, unfortunately, and I think that's something everyone agree on that. I can't know anyone that stand by that atrocious episode. Remember these witch? Yeah, these witch. That was fierce. Disgusting episode. Now, my second issue with season 7 of Smallville. As much as Kara was a great character, her storyline was neglected and it dragged on. So she decides to embrace the Kent Earth. That's amazing growth. Instead of Brainiac being the one to send Kara to the Phantom Zone, they could have done it with Bizarro, having her being mixed up with Brainiac and her having amnesia only to get seen with Lex. I wasn't a fan. To top that, the entire amnesia storyline was awful because it highlighted how Lana and Clark couldn't evolve and grow as characters since they were simply lying as usual business. My third issue with season 7 of Smallville. Brainiac was the most filler storyline that season. He should have been brought up only in season 8 because he was important to Doomsday. My issue is there to separate Clark, Lana, and to give new powers to Chloe. I admit him pushing Clark to the edge was okay, but again, take away the Brainiac thing to add more to Kara or Veritas would have been far better than what we got. My fourth issue, overall dialogue didn't age well. My final issue with Smallville 7th season. A bit too many weak Freak of the Week. were added to a season already crowded in storyline. Like most of these Freak of the Week, you just forget they were there. And that's unfortunate. So enough bashing. I have a lot of very positive things to say about Smallville 7th season. So let's get into the likes. Kara was a great addition and was a very comic book accurate. She is no female Superman. She is a character of her own. Just like Lex, she is holding on her past, which is a great theme. Despite Apocalypse episode being a bottle episode that seems filler at first, it's actually a very solid building block, pushing Clark into accepting his importance and his destiny. Veritas tied very well the origin of both Clark becoming Superman and Lex becoming the supervillain. Lionel chose an adopted kid over his own, pushing Lex into a dark path. Lex' descent to darkness reaches a turning point in episode 10. He is now unredeemable. He did bad things between season 5 and 6, but ending his own brother life was the point of no return. Lex ending Julian was also deep rooted into his desire of controlling everyone and everything in his life. It was also fitting to the comics. After learning Julian decided to get in touch with Lionel, Lex decided to end Julian's life out of spite. He didn't want to share his brother, a brother he couldn't control. In the comics, we got that tragic Lex story where he locks up his wife, the mother of his kid, so the kid only loves him. Lex doesn't like to share, and that's very accurate to most comics. Lionel becoming an actual ally and hero that truly wanted to right his wrong was a wonderful closure to his character. His growth made sense. He wanted to treat Julian well. He wanted to spare Lana from the darkness. He actually didn't have a darker agenda. Well, I question that even as today, but yeah. Clark wrote into taking part of his training with Jor-El was great. Bizarro's storyline was the better built one with the best spacing in this season. Bizarro showing the cracks into Lana was great. Lana and Clark being separated in that season made sense because Lana felt like she had too much darkness to be with such a beacon of light in her life. This season had the least amount of Freak of the Week, which made that season the most unique and enjoyable on a weekly basis. Jimmy coming closer to Clark's secret made sense. Chloe and Jimmy leaving and coming back together was a nice yo-yo. Chloe's seeds were well planted. Martian Manhunter showing up twice and Green Arrow giving an helping hand were great cameos. Black Canary joining the League was amazing. I don't have a lot more to say about Season 7. I think Season 7 overall is underrated. My score of it always fluctuates. There are times I'm like, that season is fine. There are other times I'm like, that season is great. Now, my verdict on this most recent watch, I will give Smallville Season 7 a 8 out of 10, just like Season 6. But I'd say it's slightly above 6. And I think that's the first time I actually say that. And I say that because it's easier to get through that season. I only really skipped 2 episodes, while Season 6 I skipped a bunch of them. And I feel like I always have a lot of nostalgia with 6. And on the most recent watch I did, Season 6, as much as I liked it a lot, really the best part of it, the selling point, was Green Arrow. And this season we got Supergirl. I'm in. Let's do this. So I think it's a very strong season. And I will also say this before I forget about the source of material segment. I will say that season is probably an 8 out of 10 as an adaptation. I do think it's a great adaptation. So yeah, let's get into Season 8 plot now. Let's get into it. I will screen share. So that season is like a soft reboot, and I will spoil the entire thing, so you are warned. There we go. So season 8 is a soft reboot because season 8 we get to see new faces being regulars to replace Laura Vandervoort Supergirl. We got Tess Mercer. To replace Lex Luthor, we got Oliver Queen, Justin Hartley. So let's get into season 8 plot. And we also got like Davis Bloom, aka Doomsday, being the replacement for Lionel that season, or Lex, depending how you see it. So this is the page right now. Showrunner Brian Peterson, Kelly Solders, Todd Slavkin, Darren Swimmer. So we got 4 showrunners instead of 2, which is very interesting. Many cook in the kitchen, and I didn't feel it. I will be honest. I think that season is also underrated. I know so many people that hated that season. I can understand why I had issues with it, but I think it's a great season nonetheless. So it starred Tom Welling, Clark Kent, our regular, of course, at Smallville, Allison Mack, Chloe, Erica Durance, Lois Lane, Aaron Ashmore, Jimmy Olsen, and spoiler, this is his last season as a regular. He comes back as the little brother in the series finale. But yeah, Cassidy Freeman as Tess Mercer, Sam Wither as Davis Bloom and Doomsday, Justin Hartley as Green Arrow Oliver Queen. So that season is interesting. Lex vanished into the Arctic. Clark lost his power because the tool, the MacGuffin that was the goal of season 7, took away Clark's power to make sure he doesn't dominate or destroy the world if he's out of control. So season 8 picks up with the Justice League trying to find Clark, and by default Lex as well, because they suspect he knows the secret. What they do, Clark is powerless. Martian Manhunter goes to the sun, so Clark gets his power back, but Martian Manhunter loses power this season. 1 powerhouse less, which is very interesting. Martian Manhunter becomes a cop, which is also interesting. And this entire season is around Chloe and Jimmy getting married at some point. And we got a very weird love triangle with Davis Bloom lurking around and pining over Chloe while knowing Chloe is about to get married. This was weird. Again, I spoiled the entire thing. We also get like Doomsday being the monster meant to destroy Clark. And we got the Legion of Superhero showing up and trying to help Clark into maybe dealing with Doomsday. We also got, to some extent, Brainiac back as more of a concept. And Chloe is basically turning into a vegetable because of Brainiac powers. We'll also get Lana back for some episode, and that was really to seal the deal and say, you know what? That was the final nail in the coffin. Lana is dead. Season 8 was also a big build-up for Clark and Lois relationship. So that's the plot overall. And Tess also wants to, like, harness the power of Clark. She wants to gain Clark trust in very weird ways. And oh yeah, Green Arrow is there for half the season at least. So this is the plot of the season. So let's get into my review of the season. It is one of my favorite seasons, always. Each viewing, I like it. Do I like it the same? I will be honest, not really. I think some of the aspects of the show didn't age well. But still, let's get into the greatness of season 8 because I do think there's more greatness than bad. And we will start, as usual, with the best, right? The roast, the bad. We will start with the worst three episode of season 8. Let's get into it. The worst episode of season 8 was episode 4, Unwatchable. It's the alien that wants to kiss his people and to find the perfect mate. Maxima, basically. And the only time around I've seen her in the comics, she was like of a anti-hero and she was turning good. That's the only time around I did see her in comics. And I will be honest, I can't remember her that much. She was quite forgettable in the comics. My second least favorite episode of season 8 is episode 19. Stiletto. Oh my, that's unwatchable. Who thought that was a good idea? Oh yeah, Lois and the Blur, because Clark is becoming the Blur in season 8. He's also becoming a journalist. Lois and the Blur bonding was a great idea, a great team, a great plot thread, but that episode was just bad. I don't know what they were thinking when they made it, but that's bad. Note for later, folks, never make an episode like that again. My third least favorite episode of season 8 is the episode 5 with a 5 out of 5. Well, rewind. A 5.5 out of 10. 5.5 out of 10. That was the grade of the episode. I think it's a bad episode, mostly because I just thought that Freak of the Week was weird. That episode was just an excuse for Chloe. And I really like Chloe. Clark and Lois are great that season. But if you need an entire episode around them with such a weak Freak of the Week, that's a very hard one to get through, to be honest. But that's it. So these were my worst 3 episodes of season 8. Let's get into my top 3 episodes of season 8. In third place, we got episode 11. I do believe that's the Legion episode with a 10 out of 10. In second place, we got episode 9 with the 10 out of 10. I think that's right or around that time in the story. And my favorite episode was the first episode of season 8 being Odyssey. I really liked the big team up stuff and seeing the Justice League in action. The big comic fan I am now is just geeking over it. I liked it so much. Like them globe-trotting and Oliver and Clark having a fist fight. I can't ask more. It's like a Batman versus Superman, but like Batman is green. So yeah, okay. Now let's get into my 3 issues with season 8. My first issue with season 8, Chloe was unbearable and inconsistent. She'd trust strangers but not Jimmy. Chloe is sometimes smart, but other times it's comical how bad she is, like stopping Clark from sending Doomsday in the Phantom Zone, endangering people and making the season longer. Pacing, especially by the end of the season, was lacking. There were lesser filler episodes, and even in many of these filler episodes, we had somewhat important plots that would move further the characters and story. Bulletproof showed how different Clark and Oliver were. It also showed how Martian Manhunter adapted to his new life. And it name-dropped Emil, the new doctor, that's a recurring guest. And still till we had Clark contacting Lois and the Red Blue Blur, the big pacing issue would be really after Chloe stopped Clark from sending Davis in the Phantom Zone. If she wasn't that stupid, the season would have ended there. Also, gotta admit, the episode count could have been indeed cut to probably 16 to 18. and we had 22 episodes that season. So that's really all I feel. And it's in the later part because I do think that the first half, the start of the season, really kicked in well. And maybe that's why we got so many cooked. That's what happened. I don't know. My third issue, lots of the dialogue didn't age well, with lots of millennials writing. Usually in other season, that'd be more of the wording of sentence. But this time around, it's really activist line or feminist line. That got just under my skin. It's like people don't talk that way. I I really don't know what happened with the writers. I know Caroline Dries was much more involved in the later season. That that was very hard to watch, to be honest. Sometimes. Now I sound overly negative over season 8, but I will repeat myself. Season 8 was a banger. I liked it so much. Let's get into the why. Oliver and Clark being on the same side but having different methods was cool. Chloe and Oliver taking darker paths and more extreme paths to deal with threats was fun. Martian Manhunter was a great recurring guest. Lois and Clark relationship slowly starting was great. Tess starting off as a villain that's willing to sacrifice anyone and anything to be the hero was kind of cool. Felt like Lex later season, but she thinks she's doing good. Lana finally leaving the show was amazing. Many of the filler-ish episodes still had things that mattered in them. The Legion of Superhero was cool. Emil addition to the cast was great. For once, the love triangle actually worked. Chloe being a Davis lover meant Davis would have restraint, and it would make sense that he is somewhat tamed at some extent. It also meant that Jimmy death was even more impactful on Chloe. Chloe forgetting about Clark's secret was tragic and added something for like 3 weeks. Jimmy being self-destructive was tragic, and it made him quite a different character from other seasons. Clark's distrust for Tess made sense. Nice contrast between Davis and Clark. One jumps right into his destiny, the other one is reluctant. One was raised by the Kents, the other by scientists and foster care. Season 8 is really good. I like it. But here's the thing. This time around certified that season as being lesser than how I was seeing it before. I like it. I still think it's one of the best. But on this most recent watch of the entire show, I think season 5 was better. So I will give away my score for Smallville season 8, being a 9 out of 10. But I'd say that one is slightly below season 5. Season 5 was just such a massive thing with good depth and good things going for it. I mean, Jonathan died that season. This season we got Jimmy dying, which is sad. It's a great precursor to what happens in season 9. But it's not Jonathan, it's Jimmy. So I think Smallville season 8 is great. It's a standout season that deserves a 9 out of 10. And now, this is the moment. So, the source of material segment, I already kind of shared my thoughts on season 7 being around the 8 when it comes to adaptation. I think season 8 is also around an 8 when it comes to adapting Superman mythos and Superman characters. I think Green Arrow was spot on. The origin story with him and Toxic, I really like Toxic, by the way. Great episode. Tess was very fun, but I think Tess' best season might be near the end of season 9 when she realizes she was on the wrong side of history, and Clardy definitively season 10. But Tess was quite good. And Doomsday is the weapon that's supposed to destroy Clark in most iterations. So I think, as an adaptation, Smallville Season 8 deserves a solid 9 out of 10. I think it's a great adaptation. It's slightly above what we had with Season 7. I think everything about Smallville is so great, really. It had issues, but what is perfect? I know a few perfect things, but not everything is perfect. Anyhow, this was the Smallville review for this week. Um, I I'm looking forward for next week. Next week will be the finale, season 9, season 10. Cannot wait for that. I will do a gaming award stream at some point. Friday, political stream. Tomorrow, tier list for movies stream. At some point, I will be playing Metroid Prime 4 Beyond again. Don't know when. Maybe not tonight, because I didn't sleep well today. But that's the idea. Next week, stay tuned for Smallville Season 9 and Smallville Season 10. Cannot wait for that. And I am out. Have a great day. Take